Hey everyone, so this is Grey's Anatomy, season 13, episode 2, called Catastrophe and the Cure. So Alex is getting ready for, the day, and he's getting a suit on just so that he won't have to go back and get a suit on later. When Meredith comes in and tells him to change his tie and, just go about your day, everyday life, and this will get you through the day. Meredith asks Ben, as they walk in together into the hospital, to essentially spy on everyone. And Meredith's like, you're being my eyes and ears, you're not being a spy. And he's like, no, you're asking me to be a spy, a mole. And he declines. So Weber has apparently heard the whole thing, and she comes up behind him and says, I'll be your eyes and ears. And he's like, no, I don't want you to be my eyes and ears. But as you see, he does it anyway, later on. And then he just, kind of disappears after that. Maggie then tells Meredith of another dream she had about Riggs, where she slept with him, and then decides to go after Riggs, even though she is skeptical about being his boss. And she kind of makes it sound like she's really just saying, asking a question rather than saying a statement of what she's about to do. Then you see Amelia and Owen, talking about pictures, wedding pictures and everything, when Riggs comes in and asks to know what he should bring to the dinner party, and clearly Owen has no idea about any of this and is upset, which I can understand, because that's not really a place for them to, kind of try to get over everything, because, it's going to take a long time to do that, because Owen still has a lot of resentment and anger towards Riggs. So, yeah. Edwards then asks Amelia to take Joe on her service so Joe won't have to deal with Karev. And then Amelia accepts. But first she says that Edwards has taken a side, even though Edwards says, I haven't taken a side. Even though she has. Sorry, Edwards, but you have. Alex then has the case of Zach Thompson, and he's 6 months post-op on a renal transplant, but is complaining about stomach pain. So he runs a battery test before he takes Harriet, April, and Jackson's baby to them, and says that Harry is ready to go home. And then he gets paged to go to the start of his trial. And when he leaves, April's like, I'm so sad that I won't be able to go home, and everything. Because my session has opened back up, so she has to do some therapy for it. Then at the trial and everything, the DA wants to charge Alex with second-degree felony assault, and Meredith is there, and then Joe comes in as this whole thing is being talked about, and Alex's lawyer is like, why are you doing this now? Why you just wanting to add this charge? Because it sounds like, from the sounds of it, it sounds like the DA didn't add this charge at the last second. So it's like, why are you doing it now, right in this second? So a little bit later, Meredith tries to comfort Alex, but he feels like his life is over anyway, even though he hasn't been convicted of anything at this point. So then it goes to Alex waiting in Bailey's office, and Miranda comes in, and she's like, you know what? I have enough problems than to have to deal with you and the shit that you did. Because I have to deal with who gets into what drug trial, who gets what organ transplant. I have to deal with with people who lost their children, and then I have to, in the same breath, I have to basically give them the bill that the total of the bill while their child was in the hospital. That's the last thing that they should be dealing with, and I have to. So instead of dealing with all those things, I have to deal with you, because now you have become the number one problem at the hospital. So Alex is like, is interrupting Miranda when Miranda tries to ask about him having a good lawyer and if he needs anything, and he's like, are we done here? And she's like, well, because Luca's starting back today, I need to know if that's going to be a problem. He's like, no. And she's like, fine, whatever. We're done. Then April is seen upset. Still upset that Harriet's going home and she isn't. And when she does go home, she's going to have help, and she'll be able to stand up and pick up her daughter. She's going to have her daughter handed to her because her decision she can't move, because if she does, she'll end up opening up her wound, her scar tissue again, or scar again. So she insists on Jackson leaving, even though he doesn't want to, because she's not going to stop crying and everything. So then Ben catches up with Alex and tells him that Alex's levels are elevated and he's showing signs of early appendicitis. So they're trying to they tell his mother and Zach they're going to have to prevent that with some drugs, so that, because they can't go in and take out his appendix because he's had a greater risk for infection since he had a transplant. So they're going to try to slow it down. Back in a surgery that Maggie is doing, Meredith is with her, and they're talking about Alex, and the conversation shifts to Riggs and how Maggie, asked him out. Then Owen comes in and he's like, Meredith, I need you to come to my party tonight because Riggs is going to be there and needs someone to buffer. Then Maggie offers to go in Meredith's place because Meredith says she can't. Then he's like, okay, good. And then she's like, oh, I'm going to come too then. I'm like, I'm going to say that for later. Then it goes to Joe not being all excited about Wilma, the tumor, the name of the tumor that the patient gave to said tumor. That is Amelia's patient. I can't remember the patient's name at this point, so that's what I'm going to keep calling her the patient. And somewhere elsewhere, Joe reveals that she has no place to live, and she feels everyone is putting a scarlet letter on her chest because they assume that she cheated or something. Anyway, so Miranda is then in line for food, and Weber comes up behind her. He tells her that there are rumblings of a turf war over who will get towards his ortho lab, and people at the clinic are feeling overworked. And so, Miranda's like, that's not news. What's news is Alex and DeLuca. And Weber says, I haven't heard anything about that, before he just leaves. And then Meredith is in the elevator when DeLuca walks in, and she asks about his first day back, and Meredith's like, I forget the guy who attacked me because I needed to, but Luca's not having any of that. And he's like, well, the guy that attacked you was in a fugue state. He had no choice. He basically had no control over his actions. Alex, on the other hand, had complete control over his actions, which is true. And then Meredith's like, well, have you ever made a horrible mistake because you overreacted or you had the wrong information? And he says he isn't ready, and then she continues on to say that Alex is genuinely sorry and wants to tell Luca that. And he's like, I'm not ready for that. She's like, fine, okay. But Meredith continues to go on and say, well, you're an intern, you need to think about scrubbing out the surgeries and not worrying about a trial. He's like, well, just because you weren't out here attending doesn't mean that you get the right to threaten me before he leaves. And she may not have meant to, but she did threaten him. So Meredith goes up to Alex and she may have threatened DeLuca, and then Ben comes in and tries to tell Alex about something about Zach, and Alex like, you know what, forget it, I don't care. Basically says, I don't care. I already checked his charts. He's fine, and just dismisses Ben. And so Meredith's like, you know what, Alex, you're coming with me to the dinner party tonight at 8 p.m. And so at Amelia's house, Amelia's like, Maggie, you're not in what I was hoping for. You're not casual. You're hot. And your butt's like an apple. I'm like, girl, why the fuck did you have to label that fucking food? Like, really? Really? Anyway, so Owen has Maggie talk to Riggs and Joe talks along. April and Jackson continue talking about April missing out and everything. And Meredith then finally shows up at Amelia and Owen's house, and Owen has Meredith talk with Riggs. Meredith speaks to Riggs about a fake patient, or brings up a fake patient that they need to talk about before everyone leaves to, kind of talk, to let them talk. And she's like, there's no patient, I made it up, because I don't want you because Maggie's going to ask you out, and I don't want you to go out with her. I want you to turn down. I'm going to do that one for later, too. So, elsewhere, Meredith bumps into Joe in the kitchen. Joe reveals she knows about Alex being charged with a felony, and Meredith asks if she will talk with Alex since she was there and seems to care, but Joe says she cares, but only for DeLuca and what Alex said to him. And Maggie tries to ask Riggs out, but chickens out. Then he goes to help Amelia. Riggs sits next to Owen, and they sit there awkwardly. Zach has turned for the worst. Alex shows up to the party and bumps into Joe. Says she leaves, and as she leaves, she tries to talk to her, but he said he's sorry, but she refuses to accept it because he so easily said she was trash, and that sorry doesn't always fix things. Then leaves. Alex goes to the hospital after getting paged and sees Bailey performing surgery on Zach through his appendix, and she says to him that he's off the case. Amelia then tells Owen that she's sorry for intervening and she won't do it. Again, in April sings to Harriet since she won't go to sleep. Alex goes to Zach's room and tells his mother that he's off the case because he didn't take seriously the signs of his appendix bursting. He tells Zach's mother that if the infection spreads, he will most likely affect his kidney. Meredith goes to the operating room to find Alex and Billy and tells her that Alex isn't on Zach's case anymore. Then Bailey confronts her about her threatening DeLuca, and Meredith says she was trying to advise him, but Bailey's like, it wasn't your place. And that Meredith is blindly loyal to Alex, but she is. She may not want to believe it, but she is. And she shouldn't go down with Alex as well. Meredith then says he has no other family and asks who will help him. Billy asks if Alex told her what happened in the case, and when she says doesn't say anything, she tells her to ask him what happened. Weber then tells Jackson to buck up and be April's support system, even if she doesn't ask for it. Joe is told by the patient that her husband of 30 plus years of marriage cheated on her, and the patient feels like she let it happen. Joe asks how she became brave, and the patient says being pissed made her brave. Meredith then tells Alex that Bailey shouldn't have taken the case away. Alex says he messed up, but she really upset because everyone feels everyone's pretending like they've never made a mistake before. And he tells her that if he hadn't screwed up, the kid wouldn't be in the position to lose the kidney. Ben interrupts and says that Bailey wants Meredith to do the transplant surgery because it looks like the kid's losing the transplant. Meredith has watch the kidney transplant. Bailey lets Alex talk to Zach about the surgery, and then Alex goes to Zach's mother to check up on her and, be there for her. Jackson insists on April, moving in with him, and he won't take no for an answer. And so she says she'll think about it, and then so Maggie goes up to Riggs, asks him on a date, but he turns her down, saying he's not ready to date anyone right now, and she walks away. Alex is waiting for Bailey in her office, and she tells him that they had removed a blood clot from Zach's kidney, and it pinked up right away. Tells him that she was shocked that he beat up DeLuca because she thought that he was, she thought that he had put all that stuff behind him years ago, and she won't let him perform surgery anymore in the hospital for a while. But says that he can work in the Danny Duquette clinic that was set up right before Izzy left. Amelia won't give up on fixing things, even though she previously said that she wouldn't interfere. Then Jill goes her apartment with Edwards, and Edward stays, even though Joe says it's fine. So Meredith's about to tell Alex why it's not a good idea why it was a bad idea to have slept with Riggs. When Maggie walks in and she doesn't say anything, Maggie reveals to both of them that she actually was out, but he turned her down, and Meredith's like, move on, and she won't, because he only said that she wasn't dating at that particular time, so she's gonna wait. Before I get into, like, the next week's episode, I want to say a couple things. I'm tired of Meredith and the fucking bullshit. I really am. Because I feel like ever since Derek died, she has been slowly but steadily losing my respect for her. Because, for one, when Derek was put on life support and she had to take him off life support, she didn't call Amelia, the rest of his sisters, and his mother. She didn't do any of that so they could say goodbye. And I think that was a bitch-ass move because, for one, they were his family long before she was his wife. And they had a right to say goodbye. And because she was all in her fucking feelings, she felt like she was, and because she feels like she's this fairy princess who gets to do whatever the fuck she wants, whenever she wants to, because the hospital is named after her. Sorry, behind. She feels like she can do whatever the fuck she wants, and that's not the case at all. So, she, like I said, Amelia and her sisters were Derek's sisters long before Meredith was Derek's wife. Long before then, and definitely his mother deserved to say goodbye because she was his mother long before Meredith came around. She gave birth to the man. If Meredith was was in the position of where one of her children was on life support and their husband, wife, significant other was had pulled the plug without telling her first, she'd be upset too. So I'm gonna need her to shut up. And if this had happened to, like, a sibling of hers that she had grown up with all her life and that she loved dearly, and someone had done this to her, she would be equally as upset as Amelia was. So I'm gonna need her to just, like, stop being a punk ass and excusing her actions because she had this great love with Derek. Like, your great love with Derek doesn't trump the sibling relationship. It does not trump that whatsoever. You may want it to, but it doesn't. It does not at all. So stop acting like you had this absolute 100% right to do this shit when you didn't. You did not. I'm sorry, but you did not. At all. So stop acting like you did. Stop acting like you fucking did, bitch. Like, sorry, stop acting like you did. And ever since then, she's been saying and doing shit that I've literally hated and can't stand, and because of that stuff, it's made me lose pretty much most, if not all, my respect for her that I had. So, and if she dies, I don't care. I will not care. I will not care, and I don't care if I get flack for this shit, because I mean this is my opinion. I don't care. I honestly don't care if she dies by the end of the season. I really don't care. I really don't care. Her kids, I will more than happily go to bat for, but her Meredith herself, I don't care if she gets killed by the end of the season. I really won't care. I really won't care. And with that said, I'm gonna go over to Joe. Well, actually no, I'm gonna backpedal for a second. One thing that Meredith said was that that I do agree with was that everyone seems to be harping in on Alex and what he did and acting like they've never made a mistake before. I will agree with her on that one point, and that's it. Now on to Joe. I'm usually on Joe's side 99% of the time about most of the things that she says or does. Usually I am, which is 99% of the time. This one case, I am not, because she created this atmosphere where she created a distressful climate where Alex didn't, trust her because she's lying about why she doesn't want to get married. She's not telling the whole truth about why she doesn't want to get married at the moment, and that caused him to leave angry and resentful at her, and distrustful of her because she won't tell the fucking truth. So yeah, and it's just like, honestly, well, yes, she shouldn't have jumped the gun and, beaten up DeLuca without knowing all the facts. I can honestly see at the specific second that he walked in and saw DeLuca bent over Joe, he assumed that they were about to have consensual sex. They're about to have consensual sex. Because I can see how he thought that I can see how he didn't know that she was drunk at the time. I could see how he didn't know that. I could see how he didn't know that she was drunk at the time. I could see that. And I can understand why he jumped to the conclusion that they were about to have consensual sex on their bed. So I could see how he could jump to that conclusion. I don't agree with the fact that he decided to just go ahead and beat up DeLuca anyway without getting all the facts first. Because just because you see something one way doesn't mean that's how it is 100%. That's not always the case. So I don't agree with the fact that he just decided to do that without getting all the facts first. And I'm glad that he decided to get. Or not, I'm glad he decided to take responsibility for his actions. So that's all I have to say about that. Those are my opinions. If you disagree with me, that's fine. You have a right to your opinion, and I have a right to mine. So, with that, next week's episode looks like, which is titled "I Ain't No Miracle Worker," shows Arizona confronting Alex about beating up DeLuca. Riggs wants Meredith to come clean about the two of them, but she doesn't seem to want to do it, even though eventually she's gonna have to, and eventually she's gonna be in a doghouse again with Maggie. Oh, that's also something that I meant to talk about. Meredith has this whole thing where she's like, "Oh, I don't have feelings for you, Riggs. I don't have feelings for you. I don't have feelings for you." Yet she says to Riggs that, "Oh, you have to tell her no." If you don't have feelings for him, why the fuck you telling him to say no to him? No to Maggie. Why are you telling him to say no if you have no feelings for him? So, why are you telling him to say no if you have no feelings for him? No. It makes no sense. Eventually she's going to be in a doghouse with Maggie for that. And then it gets awkward about Riggs. It seems to get awkward between Riggs, Meredith, and Maggie next episode. And that's basically the whole, seems like it's the whole episode. I'm not really going to do any predictions for that, because, I think I said all my predictions last time, and now. So, I feel like the only thing I'm going to say is that I feel like the whole Riggs and Meredith having a thing for each other is going to come out next episode, and that's it. With that said, hit like if you like this episode, hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and don't hesitate to talk about the episode in the comments below, and I will see you next week in Grey's Anatomy. Bye.